was a mistake, that all votes counted. But very importantly, he's saying that he is confident that he will win that in that Supreme Court petition. Let me come to my guests here in studio and just start on that. We don't have so much time, but very interestingly, President Uhuru Kenyatta saying that he's confident that he's going to be still declared or inaugurated as the president of this republic. And this comes just 2 days within the 4 that is required by law for IEBC and the president to file their responses to the claims made by NASA. Ken, I don't know if you've been able to look at some of the claims that NASA has put forward, talking about manipulation of the results, punching holes into IEBC's preparedness for this election. Have you been able to go through that, and what do you think of the case that NASA is putting out?
Betty, thank you for that question. One of the most fundamental things is that one cannot take a matter to court if they don't have substance. And having looked at what NASA has presented before court, you realize that they don't have issues with the way the voters cast their votes, but they are looking at issues mostly to do with the management and the transmission of the results. Because one of the fundamental things that they raise is that 5 minutes or 15 minutes rather, after the closure of the polling stations, results began streaming in. And remember, these results were meant to be counted manually. After that counting and having ascertained that these are the right votes, all the agents agree, they sign documents. These documents are supposed to have been scanned and transmitted to their main, IEBC's main server before IEBC would now transmit them to the public. And in this case, you can, from a layman's point of view, begin seeing discrepancies. And this is probably what NASA is contesting in court. It is not about were the voters able to vote? Yes, they did. Were they able to leave the stations as they were requested? Yes, they did. But what happened after? Or how did they manage what was cast?
All right. Yeah, Peter, your thoughts on this one about NASA, digging holes into the management of the Kenyan votes after election?
Yeah, you see, the observers, the Kenyans, led by the president there, you can see, they appreciated that the process of voting went on very well. The issues of tallying, we can say this. The issue is not the streaming in of the votes that night. The issue is Form 34As and 34Bs. Those are the issues where this election or this petition is supposed to be based on. The evidence that is needed in court is not found on those, that what we are seeing streaming in on TV is going to be based on the Form 34As. So we expect that NASA and its lawyers are going to produce evidence to show those disparities between Form 34As that were on the ground or in the polling stations and what we saw or what was brought through the bombers of Kenya. The issues about what came in through TV, what came in through other things, those is drama. And sometimes I tend to think, that's my own personal opinion, that sometimes we are tired of this drama. Can we just go to court, present the evidence? Nobody's going to take a TV show and say that this is how the results that we received.
Right.
We are going to see Form 34As. Let me just finish by saying something else. I like what the Deputy President said there, that election this year came, and just to answer a question that you brought in earlier, the elections that we saw this year, people voted also according to development agenda. And the agenda that maybe various governors, various MPs have showed in their areas is one of the reasons why I was saying that the way you connect with the voter, with the electorate, could be what brought out in the votes.
Right.
So the dramas and shenanigans and those ramatas and all those kind of things are no longer endearing voters to the candidates. What you need is, what do you have in your hand?
All right,
what can you give to the voter of this country?
All right, Ken, do you agree with Peter that it all boils down to those 2 forms from IEBC?
I think there is a whole gamut of issues that are being raised at this particular question, juncture. One, the forms form a very important part of the electoral management system. Number two, what is the conduct? Number three, how has IEBC behaved? Because it all boils down to perception. Remember, the other IEBC office was kicked out, and the NASA group at that particular time, under the umbrella of CORD, were raising issues and saying, well, you cannot just fix the outer body and leave the engine of a system and say that we've overhauled this. They had issues. They wanted to kick away the secretariat, led by Chiloba. And you see, these are some of the issues that are coming out glaringly because, one, IEBC should be having a serious corporate communication department. Up to this time, we have not seen them coming out and trying to disabuse some of the allegations that are being put across by NASA. In any case, you find that what appears to be their official communication channel of information is Ezra Chiloba. So you wonder now, is he speaking as a person, as the CEO, or is he speaking on the mandate of the entire organization, trying to collate these issues and also trying to make Kenyans maintain their confidence in the institution?
All right.
So it is actually the credibility of the institution that is at stake.
All right.
Yes, I don't know if I can say something here. You see, yesterday we were treated to a press release from NASA headquarters by Honorable Mdavadi, where he claimed that some candidates are being forced to concede, to say that they lost honorably. And we thought he will give us names of the people who have been forced, because the claim was that Jubilee is forcing some people to accept or to concede. Now, those are some of the things that we are saying. But as we speak about the presidential election, we also need to put it into perspective with also the other elections that went on in this country. We had 6 candidates per every station. We had the women reps, we had the women reps, we had the MCS, we had all these people. Now, when you look at everything that is going on, even the inauguration ceremonies that are going on around, people are accepting that this election was done well. Several of them are conceding defeat. We saw the former governor to Nairobi, Evans Kidero, handing over power. And we have seen many others who are also doing the same. The question is the problem only with the presidential election? Is the problem, and that's what the ordinary Kenyan on the street will ask, that is this problem, this fight, why does it always boil down to 2 people,
All right.
the presidential candidates? Why is it that Evans Kidero accepts, people, we see others in Mombasa accepting, we saw in, not Machakos, but in where Charity Ngilu is, that is Kitui, we saw the other candidates accept. So the question is, why are these others conceding? Yet in the presidential race, we always must go through all this.
But there are issues that have been raised, with other, positions, and even just bringing in Machakos. There's a contestation there between Wavinya and Alfred Mutua. Ken, what do you think NASA has to have in regards to evidence to have a solid case that could actually, take this country back to another election?
One, there are 2 important issues, and the most fundamental one is that in the last court ruling over the matter that was presented to court by NASA, which they won, they arrived at the constituency being the final tallying center. And anything that is short of what was declared and transmitted from the constituency level is a nullity.
That's true.
And since this is a country of laws, if we are going to go by basics, then it means they have a stronghold over that matter. Number 2, I really liked what the president said as he commemorated the death of his father. He's trying to build bridges, and he's saying, whatever happens, of course he's hopeful that they are going to probably uphold his win. But the law must come out clear, and the judiciary must work in a manner to appear to remain just and fair for Kenyans to begin having confidence in these institutions. Because as we speak now, we are talking of a country that is divided. And there are only these institutions that will only serve to narrow the divide.
Are you saying that the Kenyans do not have confidence in the judiciary right now?
That is not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I am just saying the manner in which they'll handle this matter. For example, now you have one side which is in NASA and the other side which is in Jubilee. And the problem is not the people. The problem that has taken us to where we are is IEBC. All these sides went out to vote for their person, having been convinced by what they were persuaded with during the pre-election, during the campaigns and all that.
Yes.
And they went and executed their mandate of voting, and they left the stations. Now, the mismanagement of these votes through the tallying system, the bogged up, whatever is alleged, is what has taken this country to divide itself.
All right.
And you've also seen in other quarters the way the government also handled itself in trying to suppress people who had dissenting views, who ran amok in the streets trying to agree or disagree. You can see all these things have been matters of contestation.
All right. We have to wind up, gentlemen. We have to, Peter, you want to react to that very fast?
Very
though.
fast,
yeah.
First, I want to say that Kenya is not divided. Those words, Kenya is divided, is not. Go on the streets of Nairobi, Kenyans are moving about their life. Kenyans everywhere in this country actually are going on with their life. Again, another thing, I don't hold brief for IEBC. In fact, I have a lot of questions about IEBC and their programs. But again, I cannot want to blame IEBC for some of the problems that we sometimes we find ourselves in as a country. Most of these problems seem to be brought by politicians. Politicians are the ones who tend to incite Kenyans and say things that this one has not done this one has not done that. At the end of the day, IEBC needs also to be given some marks. We are already witnessing inaugural ceremonies all over the country.
Right.
Why? Because IEBC conducted an election, and the people who are being given the power there went through this election. So at the end of the day, I mean, give the devil his due sometimes. They did their job. They have their problems, but at the end of the day, Kenyans are moving on.
All right. We have to wrap up the conversation, gentlemen. We're sorry we had a little time because of what was happening at the St. Stephen's Church. But I've been speaking to Peter Amunga and Ken Ambani. Both of them are political analysts about really the political environment here in the country, especially with the NASA petition at the Supreme Court. Remember that today marks the second of the 4 days that are required by law for IEBC and President Uhuru Kenyatta to file their responses to the claims made by NASA in their case at the Supreme Court. All right, so we have to wrap up here on Kivumbi 2017. It's been a short 2 hours, but of course my colleague Ali Manzu continues with coverage here. In a few minutes, it's going to be the Swahili version. Remember that among other things he's going to be giving you the latest details in regards to the swearing-in ceremonies across the country in actually 3 different places. We have one in Bomet, another one in Mombasa, and one in Kirinyaga. We'll be having the details of that from our reporters. Also on the other side of the screen, that is the memorial service of the founding father, Jomo Kenyatta. Is happening at the St. Stephen's Church along Jogoo Road. Earlier on, the members of his family were able to lay wreaths at the mausoleum in Parliament. So that's where we wrap up things here. Kivumbi 2017. My name is Betty Kello. We'll see you again tomorrow as we continue to update you. Keep it KTN News. This is a time that we also still continue with our coverage in Swahili. We'll see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.
KTN News. Get the whole story.